gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of the Holy Shoot Wrestling Challenge. For both our previous and new listeners, we have changed the format completely, and instead of a weekly roundup, we thought we would become a weekly debate show. We will also still be doing interviews, courtesy of our co-host Jason, on a regular basis too. So, what is a Holy Shoot Wrestling Challenge, I hear you ask? Basically, the Holy Shoot Wrestling Challenge is a new wrestling quiz show where the arguments, not the answers, win. Doesn't matter how bad your answer is, as long as the contestants argue their point well and destroy their opponents, then that is enough to win them the point. But, unlike previous episodes, this is a special edition, so usually we have a 3-count round and 5 normal rounds, but this time it's a draft special, a fancy draft special. So, each person will have to have 10 picks. So there's 10 rounds this time round. They explain each pick for 30 seconds and then have 5 minutes debating why their pick is the best and why their opponent's pick sucks. Also, if the pick has already been selected, then they cannot select that same act. Also, one person equals one act. One act equals one pick. I really should clarify that. So anybody can select the New Day and all of the New Day off the board. Also, if you select one very gimmicky character like the Undertaker, nobody else can select the Undertaker. So you can't say, "Oh, I'll have Dead Man Undertaker." The other person can say American Badass Undertaker. That ain't happening. At the event of the tie, we will also have an 11th round. The draft order will be a snake order and will be decided by a very quick question to these guys that they're not aware of just yet. And also, it's not too evil. Also, here's a swerve that they don't know about. I will also be picking 10 picks throughout the course of this evening, and the reason why is, just for laughs, I'm not actually competing, and because it's a pick, they're not allowed to have that pick. So
okay.
And so, I mean, you two will rotate the order, but I'll say, you're not allowed this pick. So, is that clear, gentlemen?
Crystal.
Mike?
Harry.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. Introducing first, he is the undefeated, undisputed Bedfordshire Brawler from Bedford. He has a record of 3-0. Sam Layton!
Oh yeah, the ace of the Holy Shoot Wrestling Challenge has returned. Here to lead the division into a new era of arguing.
That is still more charismatic than the Seth Rollins promo.
I can do the laugh as well. How's that? Does that make it better or worse?
Becky Lynch is attracted. Turn off that phone!
Someone's on the telephone.
And introducing his opponent. He is really interrupting the podcast on the telephone. He is from Sunderland, Tyne Wear, with a record of 2-2, Iron Mike Remington.
Boo!
I'm back,
He's rubbish.
and again I'm better than ever. Is that the best you can do? Boo, he's rubbish.
Booing is tiring. I'm saving my energy for these hot wrestling picks I'm about to do.
You keep booing away over there.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I want to exclude a pick after the second round. I'm going to let you have the first round off from my crazy choice. But in order to determine who goes to go first, gentlemen, who was selected first overall in the original draft in 2002? Go.
I don't fucking know.
Triple H?
Wrong. Sam.
The Rock. Was
Correct.
he even wrestling? Oh, nice! Yes! I was like, was he even wrestling then?
The Rock was the first ever overall draft pick to SmackDown. Vince McMahon's SmackDown. So congratulations, Sam. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first, because then it gives me an advantage of being able to pick the thing I want.
True, but it's in snake order, so Mike will get the third pick, you'll get the fourth pick, fifth pick, and then sixth pick.
Oh
so.
yeah, of course. That's fine.
Alright, no worries. let me just get a spreadsheet up. I'm very prepared this evening. I haven't just finished work, so sorry for this shitty podcast you're about to
We're all
hear.
about technology here in Holy Shoot. Spreadsheets.
Yep, Excel.
Yeah, I have a pad and paper. I'm showing everyone on the webcam, but obviously this is an audio podcast, so you can't see.
I have a blank Word document.
Well done, guys. Well done. Well done for, especially you, Sam, especially with the audio podcast thing. Anyway, let's commence the draft. What is your first overall pick? 30 seconds to explain your reason, starting from now.
So I picked kind of a theme for my wrestling show, which is that we can all agree in the 90s, kind of early 2000s, there were some incredible matches, and a lot of those wrestlers were under the influence of illegal substances or alcohol at that time. So I am putting together a roster. Working title.
You have 10 seconds remaining to make your pick.
Happy Fun Time Wrestling Show. So my first pick is the Hart Foundation, Jim Neidhart and the British Bulldog.
Ooh, Mike, you have 30 seconds to explain your pick.
I am putting together a roster of the best wrestlers ever, which I thought was the whole idea here. So my first pick is the showstopper, Shawn Michaels.
Cool, and my pick would be Eddie Guerrero because I love him, so you can't have Eddie. Brilliant. So, fight.
I mean, picking the best wrestlers ever is kind of a bit dull, isn't it? Like, yeah, fair enough. Shawn Michaels was good at wrestling, but you're not going to get any entertainment value out of that. Whereas my guys, Jim Neidhart and the British Bulldog, had some of the best matches of their career whilst absolutely blitzed out of their minds. So, you turn up and see them, you might get one of the best tag team matches of all time. Whereas Shawn Michaels, not delivering the goods,
I can't believe you're arguing Shawn Michaels doesn't deliver the goods. If anyone delivers the goods any more than Shawn Michaels, I'd like to meet him. There is a reason he's called the headliner. He has done so many innovative, what's the word?
Inevitable
things in his life. He's started the ladder match. He started the Hell in a Cell match. He has had 11 match of the years according to PWI. He can be a heel. He can be face. He is the absolute best all-round wrestler. You've got two good wrestlers, but I've got one great wrestler.
I have two of the best wrestlers of all time. I think you'll find, and two of the most exciting and unpredictable.
You're saying Jim Neidhart is one of the best wrestlers of all time?
Have you seen that? Yeah, he was. As part of the Hart Foundation, he is excellent. Defined the tag team division. Was Shawn Michaels. You seen that match he had with Hulk Hogan where he decided, I'm not having a fun time anymore, so I'll just behave like an idiot. Jim Neidhart and the British Bulldog stayed up for 3 days smoking crack, and they still made it to every TV show they were booked on. That's something, Shawn Michaels couldn't say as much. When he lost his smile, he was like, I don't want to do it anymore. Whereas my lads, they just got, handful of painkillers, back out there, back on it.
I think Shawn Michaels has taken pills and smoked with the best of them. He had an absolute Hall of Fame career, had a career-ending injury that didn't end his career, and he came back and had another 10 years. He came back for what we thought was one match against Triple H. It turned out to be, a run better than the first one. He gave us so many amazing memories, so many moments. Your guys, the Hart Foundation, Jim and the Bulldog, is that what you're going for?
Yeah, it is what I'm going for.
That wasn't even the Hart. That wasn't even the Hart Foundation. The Hart Foundation was Jim and Brett.
I'd like to correct you there. For someone who claims to be like a wrestling historian, you have made a fatal mistake there. The Hart Foundation has had many iterations, and one of them was a stable that included Jim Neidhart, the British Bulldog, and Owen and Bret Hart. So they would have.
But you specifically said Bulldog and Jim, as if So basically, what you've done is not picked Bret when you could pick Bret according to your own logic.
Well, no, because because I have a themed show, Mike, the Drunken on Drugs Happy Fun Time Wrestling Show, and on that show I can't have Bret Hart because he was not drunk or on drugs very often. So, and also I would take the whole Hart Foundation as a stable, but I thought it would be unfair to pick 4 wrestlers as one act.
I see.
And 4 of the best of all time.
Well, I think my wrestler, if he's put on the roster, we know he can be a great face, we know he can be a great heel, he can communicate with the audience, they love him, men love him, women love him, children love him. He can do comedy, he can do serious, he can do all different match styles, he can go long match, short match. He can bring out the best in absolutely everyone. So my other 9 picks, when they're wrestling him, will have the matches of their career.
Yeah, you say that until he decides he doesn't want to anymore. Until you ask him to do the job, and then he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go and live in South America with Sonny instead," or whatever. He just fucks off when he feels like it, you know. Whereas Jim Neidhart and the British
Jim and Bulldog
were,
never fucked off to WCW, did they?
Well, I mean that's still wrestling, isn't it? So there's that. You know, you just had to give him more money.
End of discussion. I will judge now. I have no idea why I went fully robotic, but I was just trying to think.
Engaged.
I was just trying to think. What could I do as a noise? And then I was just like,
It'll do.
I really should have used a fucking buzzer for this. This one's pretty evident to me. I think when you said Jim Neidhart was one of the best wrestlers.
It's not about the argument. It's not about
the argument.
This wasn't the argument. That was the thing. That's why I pointed it out. I was like, okay, that's a bit too far. You know, I really like Mike's point if Sean could do drugs for the best of them.
Yeah, actually,
wow.
do you want to know a fun fact? That my second pick was going to be the Rockers, but obviously now I can't have them anymore. And it was up in the air about whether I should go with them or the Hart Foundation first.
Wow, oh wow. So, yeah. Mike, you win the point. Congratulations, it's 1-0. Mike, you get to go first, starting from now. 30 seconds.
My second pick also can have many different characters, do many different match types, and has done since Survivor Series 1990. It is The Undertaker.
Ooh. Okay, Sam, you got 30 seconds started from now.
Okay, so going up against The Undertaker is the proto-Undertaker, big scary evil man, Jake the Snake Roberts. Obviously very similar mystical gimmick, and talking quietly in promos, but, you know, did it years ahead.
Brilliant. You can start fighting right now. FYI, actually, I take that back. My pick would be Chris Jericho. So, now you can fight.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to try and argue that The Undertaker is a bad wrestler or whatever. I'm just going to say that I think in terms of the impact that they had on the wrestling industry and the roles that they could play, I think Jake the Snake is a better pick. He's an old school wrestler. I guess similarly to Taker, he knows that you don't have to do a lot in the ring to get a reaction. But I think he has always been able to convey the slimy, evil character much better than Taker would. At the beginning of his career, Taker needed Paul Bearer to kind of put him over like that, whereas Jake the Snake always stood alone, apart from his snake, I suppose.
Sam, I feel like you've been smoking with your fantasy roster picks if you've just said that Jake the Snake Roberts had more of an impact on wrestling than The Undertaker. Not only is he possibly the most impactful wrestler of all time, he's certainly the most revered, and to get to that level from your peers and from your other wrestlers and even from Vince himself, that shows the impact that he's had. I would remind you that The Undertaker did actually beat Jake the Snake Roberts if you want to go down to stats, and Undertaker went on to have a lot more successful career than Jake ever did. Jake might have had the mind, but Undertaker has the look, he has the skills, he has the promos, he has everything in there.
I mean, fair, but I think The Undertaker was cribbing quite heavily from Jake the Snake's playbook. Like, it wouldn't be unfair to say, if Jake the Snake hadn't pioneered the quiet, calm, evil promo, then The Undertaker wouldn't be the guy he is today. You know, you are a product of your surroundings, and when The Undertaker was coming up, he was surrounded by guys like Jake Roberts.
I really fail to see a correlation between Jake's promo type and Undertaker's promo type. But just think of what they've actually done for the business. Jake was... He never really reached his potential. He had the demons, which is why you're picking him.
Yeah.
It's quite funny that I'm using demons against Undertaker here. But Undertaker has been part of so many great stories, so many great matches. The whole WrestleMania streak, I mean, that was something that went on over 20 WrestleManias. What was Jake Roberts' WrestleMania, which is the pinnacle of wrestling? What was his record in that?
So
1 and 2?
I mean, Mike, you know wrestling isn't real, right? So while it is a bit cliche to say...
Boo! It's
Well,
predetermined.
Sorry. You know wrestling is predetermined.
I
So
do.
while he may not have had the best win-loss record, that doesn't make you a good or a bad wrestler, I don't think. And actually, if you can remain as like as a heel, someone who people turn up to still see get their ass kicked without winning a lot, then that means you're really fucking good at your job.
I think the better the wrestler you are, the better your win-loss record will be as a byproduct of that. The fact is, Jake never main evented any pay-per-view. He never main evented really any TV show. He was mid-card talent at best, often used for putting over up-and-coming stars.
1 minute.
I think he definitely did main event a lot of old pay-per-views, but I obviously don't have the encyclopedic WWE knowledge to quote time
I'll happily tell you that Jake never did main event a WWE pay-per-view. There is no encyclopedia that will tell you that he did. You may have him as part of a 5-on-5 Survivor Series final match. Back in the late 80s would be the closest you get, and I don't even recall that.
What was that? The thing where he made the snake bite Macho Man on the arm? Wasn't that the end of a show?
That was a Saturday night main event.
Yeah, that's still a main event, isn't it? But you don't need to main event to be a good pick.
I think comparing the two, I mean, if you just think of, you can quickly list off the top of your head 10 great Undertaker matches. The ones against Shawn Michaels, my number one pick. Think of the chemistry that my guy has with the number one pick.
Yeah, but Mike, when you turn up, you might get the Snake Eyes promo, or you might get one of the best promos you've ever heard. And Jake the Snake is a good.
Oh wait, there might be another minute. Shit, I got that wrong. Continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so to expand on the point I had to make in a very small amount of time, when you turn up to a Jake the Snake show on my Drunken on Drugs Happy Fun Time Wrestling Hour, you might get the best promo you ever heard. You know, the one he did about when the snake was biting Macho Man, he didn't care about Macho Man's eyes. He was just looking into Miss Elizabeth's eyes. That promo, that's fire, right? Whereas you might also get that one where he's like, if you want to play 21, I got 22. If you want to play Snake Eyes,
my
I got
guy
two
can
of
do
them
multiple promos. He's been multiple different characters. He's been the Demon Undertaker. He's been the American Badass. But with Undertaker, even the entrance, his entrance gains as much excitement sometimes as the matches.
Mike.
And when the entrance does that, when the crowd pops, when they hear one syllable dong, you know you've got something special.
The American Badass Taker.
Okay, this time, stop. I really like both picks. I love Jake Roberts. He's one of my favourite old school guys. Who doesn't love The Undertaker? Apart from... I don't know who doesn't love The Undertaker. So this is actually a really tough decision for me. I really like your argument, Sam, about being a product of your own surroundings, and he was a huge influence to The Undertaker, in my opinion, in the early part of his WWF career. However, I think Mike just always had a great counterpoint. The lack of main events, The Undertaker being a bigger star over a longer period of time. I have to go with The Undertaker opinion there. It was just very good counter arguments from Mike. So
I think that's fair enough. I'm never going to win in an argument against The Undertaker because there's so many, like, he is a legend, you know.
Yeah, but is he as big as legend Jake Roberts? You know, you should have argued better.
See, if you'd had Jim Neidhart at that point, I would have struggled.
So, British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero, Jake Roberts, The Undertaker, Chris Jericho is off the board. Sam, you get to go first in round number 3, starting from 3, 2, 1, go.
My pick for round 3 is a wrestling legend both in the amateur and the professional scene. He won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. It's Kurt Angle, but specifically, while we do get all of their acts, I'm having the Kurt Angle from TNA when he was all on pain pills and cocaine and doing moonsaults. That's the Kurt Angle I want.
Essentially, Kurt Angle is off the board. It doesn't matter about gimmicks. Okay, Mike, go.
That's a very strong pick with an Olympic gold medalist, but Austin 316 says I just whipped your candy ass. Well, Steve Austin, in case Sam didn't get that.
I did.
Okay.
I am going for... Who should I go for? I haven't thought this one out. I am gonna go... You know what? I never thought I'd say this guy, but this guy's coming to my head. Sting. I like Sting. I'm going to have him in the third round. I don't know why, just Sting. Anyway, you've got 5 minutes to fight, starting from now.
I really want to go first, just to remind you all that while Steve had the massive feud with Vince and the anti-boss character and the comedy that he did and the great matches and the matches against Shawn Michaels and against The Undertaker and against The Rock, I just think we all forget what an amazingly good wrestler Steve Austin was. The matches he had at King of the Ring 96 against Shawn Michaels, you see the speed that they are moving at. Nobody really gives him credit for what an amazing wrestler he was before all of the rest of the things. And I was listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast today. That Austin 316 t-shirt sold over 5 million at $20. How much did he change the industry just with one t-shirt? He is possibly the biggest changing the industry guy in a short time in the history of wrestling.
I mean, yeah, but like, that's a dull pick. You're not going to get a cool themed show out of Steve Austin. He never had any problems with drugs or alcohol. And I don't know what matches you were watching.
Did you just say that Steve Austin never had any
alcohol was
problems with
never a
alcohol?
problem. Do you watch him drinking in the ring, Mike? He doesn't know how to pour the beer into his mouth. He drinks beer
That's
like
his
a Cookie
problem.
Monster eats cookies. Like, it just all falls out. I've watched him live do it.
I think you're harping too much on trying to find people who have substance abuse problems here and forgetting what we're trying to do. We're trying to pick the best 10 wrestlers that make up a roster, and you're trying to make them all have an orgy.
No, I'm picking 10 wrestlers who would either deliver the greatest hour or worst but most entertaining hour of wrestling you've ever seen. That's the theme of my picks.
Talk about fantasy booking. I must try and do this for our Watch Wrestling group. Say, hey, here's a wrestling event that might be shit or might be good. Take your pick.
No, it will be good. It's just there's two different ways it could be good.
Gentlemen, I'm going to interject. Can you please actually stick to promoting the wrestling? And I'm not really too fussed about addictions and stuff. Let's actually stick to the wrestling. Thanks. You got 2.5 minutes.
Yep, and as soon as you stick to the wrestling, like I said, he was an amazing wrestler. He had amazing matches. He came back, like Shawn Michaels, from a career-ending injury to have some of the better matches of his career. The trilogy against The Rock in WrestleMania main events, WrestleMania 17, universally almost lauded as the best pay-per-view of all time, strictly because of that main event.
So what I would say in response to that is that a lot of what you said there could also be said about Kurt Angle. He also came back from a career-ending injury, potentially multiple times, in order to have some of the best matches of his life. I would also go on to say that a face is nothing without a good heel to play off. And so, while Steve Austin did undeniably have Vince McMahon, a lot of what got him started was his feud with Kurt Angle, the milk truck, that kind of thing. And Kurt Angle had to be there for him to deliver that. Also, going back to your point about him being a good wrestler, I know what Steve Austin matches you've been watching, mate. Because in mine, he punches people a lot, he does a Luthez press, then he hits the stunner, and that's the end of the match. He's hardly a technician, like...
Can I just give you a quick list of Brian Pillman, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, The Rock, all people he'd had main runs with before he got in the ring with Kurt Angle. And you're saying he didn't get going till he met Kurt Angle. I think we can rewind.
You're taking words out of my mouth there.
I'm taking the words and repeating them to you word for word. He didn't get going till he met Kurt Angle in the ring.
That's not what I said.
Statement.
No, what I said was that he also had Kurt Angle as a good heel to play off.
That's not what you said in the slightest, but I'll let you change it. Before Kurt Angle even came in the ring, Steve Austin had a Hall of Fame career, and he continued it with Kurt Angle and continued past Kurt Angle. He did some great work with Kurt Angle, the singing and the cowboy hat and stuff, but Kurt Angle got a hell of a lot by rubbing shoulders with Steve Austin, not the other way around.
I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Steve Austin was in the ring with a gold Olympic medal winning hero, amateur wrestling legend. There's stuff to be said. That's hard to do. And anyone who was in a match with Kurt Angle was elevated by the fact that he was such a decorated actual athlete.
Nah, I definitely think it's the other way around. I think Kurt getting to work with Steve elevated him. I don't think anyone could really argue it the other way around.
I mean, we're not also. I mean, we're not just talking about Kurt's work with Steve Austin either. He's been in excellent feuds with Edge as well. D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels. He's had great matches with. You know, he's incredibly versatile. Still gets a massive pop now.
And Steve Austin did stun a Trump just to get a few bonus points.
End of the round. So, personal preference would have been Kurt Angle for me. Just on the answer alone. However, this show is not about answers, it's about arguments. And I really feel, Sam, that you've missed a hell of an opportunity here. And say, you know, Steve really didn't get going until Kurt Angle to limit the basis of his matches when it's quite clear that he was a technician, like pre-broken neck. And I think you missed a lot of good opportunities to really A, elevate Angle, and B, take, you know, Steve Austin down a level. I can't believe I'm saying that.
It's hard. It's Steve Austin.
Yeah, I know it's Steve Austin, but Kurt Angle is a better wrestler. And, you know, and you're facing a guy who wants to load it with like the 10 best wrestlers. Kurt Angle has got to be one of the 10 best wrestlers. And you completely missed that opportunity, Sam. Mike owned you in that round. So, Mike, congratulations, you're 3-0 up.
Woo! Oh,
you're not Ric Flair. Oh, I really wish I picked Ric Flair. I really, that would have fucked you bad. Oh, shit. No, the worst part is you gave me that idea and now you're taking it away from me. So, Mike, who are you going to pick for the opening of the 4th round? Wait, what?
Oh no, I thought he went first last time. No,
you went first.
Yeah, I did. Fair
and you
enough.
wasted on Kurt Angle over Steve Austin. I mean, Jesus Christ. All right.
Listen, I've got a theme to my list. It's not just picking 10 good wrestlers.
Sam, I love the fact that you have a theme, but you know, let's get going. 4th round. Mike, please start.
Okay, so my next pick is one of the biggest wrestlers of all time. He was wrestling in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Possibly went a little bit too long, but I'm focused on his prime here. One of the most charismatic, one of the most recognizable wrestlers ever. I am going with, not Ric Flair, I'm going with Hulk Hogan.
Whoa, Hulk Hogan. Ooh, controversy. I love a bit of controversy. Just as much as Sam does. Sam, what's your...
It's me next. So, I am going to go with the styling, profiling, down low riding, airplane, nudity boy, the nature boy, Rickolas.
Buddy Rogers!
Rickolas, yeah. I wanted to extend his name, but I'd already started saying Rick, and I couldn't think of how to make it longer, so I went with Rickolas. Yeah, obviously it's got to be him. He's the ultimate wrestling party boy. How could I not have him on this show?
Okay, and I am going to pick someone of the older era, Randy Savage. So Randy Savage is off the board, gentlemen. So if you had Randy Savage, tough titties. Anyway, you have 5 minutes to fight, starting from now.
I mean, Mike, you've picked a terrible racist to be on your
straight for the race card.
Straight for the race card. Not only is Hulk Hogan a terrible racist and a homophobe, yeah, I said it, but he's also terrible at wrestling. His finishing move was a fucking leg drop. I've never seen a Hogan match where I thought, God blimey, that was exciting. That really stood the test of time, didn't it? Just think, here's a big roided up blonde action figure man yelling and caterwauling about the ring, and then ultimately just falling over on someone in quite a lame way.
I'm getting the feeling you're not the biggest Hulk fan, but look, Ric Flair, while he was having his career in the 2nd or 3rd tier, Hulk Hogan main evented WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 5, WrestleMania 6, WrestleMania 7, WrestleMania 8, WrestleMania 9. Are you going to sit here that Hulk Hogan is the reason that we are sitting here having this podcast? We can always point to one person who may have had the biggest impact on wrestling. He has something amazing. And I've just listed all of these WrestleManias. He then went away and turned heel and changed the face of the wrestling business again. Your guy, it's Ric Flair. He's always been Ric Flair. And to say Hulk Hogan has the same match time and time again, Ric Flair also had the same match time and time again. Except Hulk Hogan was doing it and doing better with it, making more money from it, making more fans through it. He is why we are here. Ric Flair... don't think
Actually,
so.
mine was JBL.
There's another pick.
All Hulk Hogan really proved, Mike, is that if you can politic well enough in any business, then you can get to the top, even if you're dog shit at what you do. Like, that he only got to the top through being a massive shitbag. It's well documented that he was manipulative. He went out of his way to put people down. He never did the job. Hulk Hogan kicks out at 3.2, brother. Like, if he had to lie down, he would make you look weak by kicking out immediately. The 3 count went down. Well, yeah, he was a big superstar. Wrestling, again, like, you manufacture the stars. He just happened to be roided out enough to get to the top. The other thing he brought to the game was how to get other people to take the fall for your steroid use, which he perfected. Whereas Ric Flair defined what it means to be a heel draw. He defined what it meant travelling around the country as the NWA champion to have people want to turn up to wrestling shows because they hate you so much. But not so much, like making them hate him, not enough that he would drive people away because they didn't want to see him. People actively came because they disliked him.
Yeah,
and he always won, but he always made it look like the guy he was fighting was the best in the world.
I think that's a great point. I think a lot of people did go to a show because they hated Ric Flair, but I think a lot of people even more went to a show because they loved Hulk Hogan.
I mean, yeah, Hulk. Well, if you're going to argue size of shows, then yes, WrestleMania definitely is a larger one-off show than a lot of the shows Ric Flair was on. But in terms of like making the towns, doing the job, being what it really means to be a wrestler on the road, Ric Flair embodied that. And then to go on to have a huge career in kind of what you might now consider the mainstream of the WWE, and to still be relevant all this time later. In 2019, nobody wants to see Hulk Hogan anymore. But
when you say
love
still
it when
being
Ric Flair
relevant,
turns
we're
up.
2 weeks away from Team Hogan versus Team Flair, so they're on exactly the same level of relevancy. I just think if you were to show a non-wrestling fan a picture of the both and say, can you name these people, Hulk Hogan would be the one that they name, because he had the bigger impact.
Because he's a breakfast cereal cartoon character with like horrible... He's a horrible blonde man who looks like someone took a beefsteak and then wrapped it round loads of dull hair. It's gross.
He looked amazing. He gave amazing moments. He gave amazing memories. Whereas, unfortunately, Ric Flair might have had so many great matches, but hardly anyone saw them. And I think right now, if we were to say what the best thing Ric Flair gave us, her name is Charlotte.
You can't, in all honesty, you can't say that. Really?
I think I'm talking from a typical wrestling fan. If you say, tell me something about Ric Flair, they'd say Charlotte. If you say, tell me something about Hulk Hogan, they'd say WrestleMania or Leg Drop.
It's not the best thing that he ever did. Or Brooke Hogan, yeah, that industry legend. I'm sorry, I just don't see it, and I don't think a wrestling company in 2019 needs Hulk Hogan on the roster.
I think Hulk Hogan is an amazing addition to a roster just because of the eyes he brings to it. And then everyone else who's doing amazing gets those eyes on him just by being in the ring.
Brother! See what I did there?
Yeah, you can enjoy
It's the end of the round.
Oh, okay.
Shut up, Sam. I'm talking now.
I couldn't tell because you keep interjecting anyway while we're arguing. So I wasn't sure if that was just another one.
True, I just really want to get involved. I mean, Mike, you missed a great opportunity to bring up Ric Flair's dodgy past. You know, Sam laid down the racism card, and the homophobic card. But you know, Ric Flair had his domestic problems, to say the least. So you could have brought that. You know, comparing the two wrestling rise, I mean, come on, Ric Flair's better, and I think to say Charlotte was the thing that Ric Flair's most notable for, when quite clearly, you know, he's referenced in rap songs today. I mean, that's how much of a legend he is. You're all right about WrestleMania though, and this is what makes it tough, because Mike, your argument was strong, but I felt I felt Sam came out of the gates more. I felt Sam countered more against Hulk Hogan. I don't think. I mean, here's the other thing as well, Mike. You're saying 10 best wrestlers is yours, just like Sam is definitely putting 10 people with issues. I'm not sure why. But he's talking 10 best wrestlers, and you didn't really defend Hulk Hogan as a wrestler. So for me, I have to give the point to Sam here in the 4th round. So you're still leading, Mike. You're still leading 3 points to 1. So let's kick off with the 5th round. Sam, you get to go first.
Oh yeah, it's me. So just quickly, I'd like to point out that all of the people I've picked all recovered from their terrible addictions. I've actually been quite careful not to pick people who unfortunately died as a result of them. So I'm being relatively respectful, maybe not completely. So for my pick now, I have gone with an Attitude Era legend on into the present day. He's the chairman of NXT and a man, such a man.
You've got a few seconds
left.
I've
gone with William Regal, legendary heel, and
okay, Mike, it's your turn.
Okay, so to join Sam's theme, my pick actually does have an addiction of his own, and my guy is addicted to pie, because he is the jabroni beating, pie eating, high flying, electrifying, eyebrow dropping, spine popping, eyebrow raising, people's champ, The Rock.
You know what? It was quite funny. I was nearly going to select The Rock last round, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for an old school vibe. So, great minds think alike, Mike. However, my pick has an addiction too. An addiction to competition. CM Punk is off the board. So, William Regal versus The Rock. This is going to be definitely an interesting one, to say the least. Let's start fighting now.
So back to my theme of being great wrestlers. If you look at some of the matches he had and the way that he improved early on, you saw Rocky Maivia come in at Survivor Series as the all smiley, wanted everyone to love him, could wrestle basically, but couldn't do anything, and the people hated him. And he could have just given up at that point, but instead he embraced that. The people want to hate him, he would become the people's champion. Such a metamorphosis on the back of hatred has never been seen, and he went from being just a mediocre mid-carder to one of the biggest stars of all time.
Yeah, with 2 of the worst finishing moves of all time as well. The rock bottom, aka I'll take a back bump, and the people's elbow, aka I'll run against the ropes to build up momentum and then stop and do a little dance, because that'll make the move hurt.
And what do you think? What do you think of William Regal's finishing move?
I think it's great. It's a submission hold.
What's it called? I can't quite remember.
It's called Fuck Off, Mike.
All right. Yeah, very variable. I could see kids all over the world doing that in their break time. Let's go to play. You lie down and I'll hit the fuck off, Mike. I don't think teachers would love that very much.
My pick was it's not just about in-ring ability, though, is it? It's about playing a character and bringing something to the business.
Yes, which my guy does better than anyone who's ever
NXT
stepped
has
in that
become
ring.
a global brand. They're not developmental anymore. They are the 3rd brand in the WWE, and he could bring that kind of management knowledge to the Drunken on Drugs Happy Fun Time Wrestling show. Not only that, but he is one of the greatest heels of all time. People would spit blood when he came out. They hated him so much. And yet, on top of that, I can't name individual finishing moves. He's from a catch-as-catch-can British background, so he is all about fast-paced reversals and submission holds, proper old-school wrestling out of the pit in Blackpool. The matches he had with the likes of Fit Finlay were clinics for the British wrestling scene, and he can bring that to the Drunken on Drugs Happy Fun Time Wrestling show.
Look, you say that he was so hated that the fans would spit blood. At one point, The Rock became so hated that the wrestlers would spit blood. Just ask Mick Foley what his reaction to Rock being a heel was. He was absolutely Die Rocky Die was chanted by 20 to 30,000 people every night, and I don't remember ever hearing Die Regal Die or anything. I heard a polite boo from the Sheffield crowd before his 14th match with Fit Finlay, which you say that they were great matches. Can you remember them?
Yeah, I can. I couldn't tell you which show it was on, but I've definitely watched it multiple times.
It was on Watch Wrestling, which was on ITV a long time ago.
No, he had a match. It was like a showcase match they did in the WWF as well, but I can't remember which pay-per-view it was. It's an old one. Admittedly, it wasn't a WrestleMania or one of the big four. It was just
Great
a
American
regular
Bash
show.
2006.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
I remember that.
Yeah. It's an incredible match. Thank you very much, Brod. But I mean, also in interviews, William Regal tells stories about how when he was wrestling in Blackpool, an old lady tried to stab him. I don't think The Rock ever got anyone to hate him enough that he would commit an act of murder. So that's pretty big.
I think when Regal was in his prime, it was a different day and age, and stabbing wrestlers was part of the thing. I'm not sure that was specific to Regal. But come on, are we really having this argument? The Rock, the things he can do, you put a microphone in his hand, he has the crowd in the palm of his hand for 5, 10, 15 minutes. He's been part of some of the greatest feuds, some of the greatest storylines. What has Regal ever done in the mainstream? We're trying to sell tickets here. Who are the kids going to buy tickets for? Who are the adults going to buy tickets for?
So I think if you ask anyone who left wrestling after the Attitude Era to name a few big stars, they would come out with The Rock. They would come out with people like Steve Austin. They would come out with The Undertaker and Kane. But they'd also say William Regal. He's actually, I think, an incredibly well-remembered character because people fucking hated him. Because he was unbearable. What are you going to see when the power of the punch run wild on thee? Like, top stuff, man. He was a great promo as well. Yeah, The Rock was a legend, undeniably, but he doesn't fit with the theme of the show.
He was a legend, and you think about the matches with Triple H, Taker, Jericho, Hogan, Cena. Which matches really stand out in WWE for Regal?
We've been over this. His matches with Finlay.
His matches.
It's not just about
it's about we're trying to build a roster
matches.
that will be great, not build a roster that used to be.
I'm sorry for your ears, ladies and gentlemen, but I really wanted to get super involved. I think I might have pissed off the neighbours. Anyway,
I'll get over it.
Yeah, I hope so. Bloody hell, what a rubbish round from both of you, if I'm honest. Like, Mike, you really should have trounced him. You really should have done. But then again, you did have the killer blow right from the very off. Like, it was a knockout punch. It was just like, okay, name a submission hold. And I can tell you this, I don't know the answer, but it's most certainly not called Fuck Off Mike.
I think if you go back and
it's the
look,
Regal
I think
stretch.
you'll find that it is.
Yeah, actually, I've heard of the Regal
Didn't he
stretch.
also... He had a punch finisher as well, didn't he?
Power
the brass
of the
knuckles.
punch.
That's
the
it.
brass knuckles. And he also had the running knee thing. I do remember that Finlay match. It wasn't excellent. It was good, but it wasn't
So I think
excellent.
that one at two... I think he actually had... I think they had an earlier match. One of his early matches is the one I'm thinking of. It was on like a late 90s pay-per-view. I'll look it up.
Finlay was in I thought he was in WCW.
Yeah.
It might be a WCW.
He came to
It might
WWE.
be a WCW match.
Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry. I think Mike argued for The Rock better. So 4-1.
I was
4-1.
arguing against the fucking Rock, like... I'm
Well,
definitely not doing this on easy mode.
You know... I don't even know where to begin with, Sam. This is the biggest collapse since last week.
I meant being entertaining. It's about being entertaining.
That's not the point of the show. I mean, if it was, you'd probably be 5-0 up right now. No offense, Mike, but but unfortunately,
I'm trying to be nice to Sam. I don't want to upset him too much.
Mate, you should just violate him at this point.
Okay, second half I will violate Sam.
And
And
speaking
not
of
in a good way.
Oh dear, this show's going off the rails. Right, 6th round, Mike, you get to go first. Start the round now.
Okay, so going back in time a bit, I think that the question here was, what is the best 10 wrestlers that we can draft into a new promotion? But the thing with this is, just when we think we've got the answers, Rod seems to change the questions, and that's why I'm going with Roddy Piper.
Okay, Roddy Piper and Sam.
So I'm going to go with... I actually have to change my answer now, so let's go with Scott Hall.
Scott Hall. I like Scott Hall, so I like Roddy Piper too. This is difficult. I am gonna go for someone a bit more modern, a bit more elite, should we say? I'm gonna go for Kenny Omega. So Kenny Omega's off the board.
That's fine by me. Kenny Omega's straight edge.
So am I. Anyway, yeah. That's a weird way to announce it. Anyway, fight.
I mean, wait, you had Roddy Piper.
I did.
The ultimate mid-carder. Whereas I had Scott Hall, one of the founders of the NWO, and one of the most popular acts in the WWE as part of Razor Ramon, as part of Razor and Diesel. He was undeniably a legend. The matches he had, his incredible finishing move. I can't remember the name of it right now, Mike, before you skewer me with that one, but I can tell you it was a crucifix bomb. The one where you lift them up.
The Razor's Edge.
Oh, yeah,
even I knew it was a Razor's Edge.
Look, I'm not very good at remembering finishing names.
Yeah, you're obviously not very good at remembering the main event of the first ever WrestleMania either, with my mid-carder being in it.
I mean, I didn't watch WWE back then, Mike. I'm right. A young man.
I see.
And my parents didn't let me watch it. That's true.
You use history when it benefits you, but you ignore most of it. Look, your
Mike,
argument 3 times now has been he's been one of the most hated heels. The crowd hated him. The crowd wanted to kill him. Roddy Piper was one of the most hated villains in the Territory days. And sorry, I know you're a young fan. Territory days, before it was all one big company. He would go territory to territory. You want stabbing? You want shots fired in the crowd? You want every type of murder, poison, people come to hotel rooms? Roddy Piper had it all. He was the ultimate villain before villains became cool.
I mean, you say that, but I think Scott Hall as Razor Ramon was the first cool villain. And I think he defined the idea of being a heel and then getting so loved by being good at your job that you just become a babyface by default. When he left to go to WCW, the WWE tried to rip off his character. That's how popular he was, that they made that fake Razor and fake Diesel.
So will you be using Diesel as one of your later picks, going by that logic?
No, I won't be.
I didn't think
Kevin,
so.
No, because he's absolute rubbish, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, Scott Hall was the stronger of those two. Kevin Nash is not good at wrestling; he's just big. Whereas Scott Hall was the one who carried that team, and was one of the greatest parts of the NWO as well. Which, as you said earlier when we were talking about Hulk Hogan, defined the idea again of being a cool heel or having an attitude.
Yeah, he was part of that. But what happens in the ring aside, Piper's Pit was one, it was the first real wrestling talk show, which these days has so many offsprings. They all look back at Piper. You said earlier about Jake the Snake being an influence. Not many people would have had more influence on wrestlers growing up that we know today, and that you love, you being a young fan, as Roddy Piper. The way to talk, the way to act in the ring, the way to generate heat. He really was a teacher. Whenever he came out, he would show so many different things, and he could be hated and loved at the same time, or he could switch between the two. He had the crowd totally in his own hands. Whereas Scott Hall, did his character really ever modify past that? Not really.
When he was Scott Hall in WCW, he's completely different to Razor Ramon. He did all that stuff you said, and he wasn't even talking in an accent that was his own. He's doing a fake accent, and people still bought it.
You say you do everything character. I said. When did he ever host a talk show? When did he ever switch between heel and face on the same night at whim? The crowd would boo him when he says something, and then cheer when he says something, and then boo him when he says something. Scott Hall was just, as you started off with your poor argument, a mid-card wrestler.
Well, I don't think he was. He's one of the... Admittedly, he wasn't the highest drawing WWF champion of all time, but how many times
He was never WWF champion.
Oh, I thought he was. Oh, no. No,
I'm glad you know your own pick so well.
Listen, it's not about stats.
Oh.
Okay, maybe it is a little bit. But look, fuck off.
If you say another thing that it's not about, we'll have it up to 5. What is this about? According to you, it seems to be about people who were on drugs and have come back. You seem to be forgetting the overall point of this. We've got 10 picks to make the best roster that we can get.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper, You think of brilliant matches. You look at WrestleMania 8 against Bret Hart, still talked about these days. Main event at WrestleMania, was part of the WrestleMania tournament, was part of the WrestleMania 3 Battle Royal. so many top moments there. He went undefeated from his time joining WWF in '85. He went undefeated till WrestleMania 8. Vince must have realised. I mean, Vince isn't stupid. We might think he is sometimes these days, but those days Vince isn't stupid. To make an undefeated wrestler, wow.
I mean, again, wrestling is predetermined. Your win-loss record doesn't indicate your skill in the ring.
As the Scott Hall's promos that were clearly written for him.
I think he was better on the mic.
Ding, ding, ding! It's over. And boy, this is over. I mean, from the very off calling Roddy Piper a mid-card and being swatted down with the first ever WrestleMania main event, not even knowing that Razor Ramon was never a WWF champion, and just Roddy Piper, the arguments that Mike made for his guy were far stronger. So, with regret, I think this could have been closer, but with regret, I have to give Mike the point again. Mike, you're leading 5 points to 1 heading into the 7th round. Sam, you need to win out plus the 11th pick if it does go into overtime in order to win.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, Brod. I don't think there's much chance of me doing that because I know what I've picked next.
There's confidence for you.
I'm trying to think of some, I don't know, Road Warrior Animal? I don't know. Anyway, so...
Can I just check, sorry, did you already have Bradshaw?
No, I did not have Bradshaw.
Oh, okay, I thought you said you had JBL.
No, I jokingly said JBL got me to wrestling when it's Eddie Guerrero. Hence, Eddie Guerrero is my first pick.
Oh, I see.
Okay. But Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Sting, Randy Savage, CM Punk, and Kenny Omega are my guys at the moment. So, anyway, Sam, you get to pick in the 7th round. So, pick first, please.
Cool. I'm going to have the man whose finishing move is named after the area code that he lives in, and not what I said on a very early episode of Holy Shoot. He is a tiny Mexican man who we all love to cheer, and he's good at doing flips. It's Rey Mysterio, 619.
Really? You're negative about Rey Mysterio? Okay, cool, whatever.
I wasn't negative. I made a quote about how I thought what I thought the name of his finishing move was after, and it wasn't that. It's just the area code he lives in.
Okay, Mike?
Well, I don't know the area code of where my guys live, but I am picking one of the greatest tag teams of all time, Edge and Christian.
Ooh, Rey Mysterio, Edge and Christian. And you know what, guys? I'm doubling down on Bradshaw. Again, JBL! No one's going to pick him anyway, but I'm picking the greatest WWE champion in SmackDown history, JBL. Take that, Kofi Kingston, Brock Lesnar. Boo. Anyway, you have 5 minutes to fight, starting from now.
So my argument is in 2 points. You've got the best tag team in terms of working together, in terms of innovation. The matches they had, TLC, the ladder matches with the Hardy Boys, they did things first that no one else had seen before. And then when they brought Lita into the fold, it was really a beautiful thing to see. Then they split up and went into singles, and I'll save that for when Sam wants to say some irrelevant comment that turns out not to be true. They never main evented a pay-per-view or something.
I'm not saying anything like that because I'm not a fool, Mike, unlike you.
Oh,
however,
you forget I can see you.
You've said a very foolish thing already, which is that they were innovators in the ring. They had, in the TLC 3, the 3 tag teams, what you got, the Dudley Boys, they had tables, true innovators of the use of hardcore weaponry and how to make a crowd hate you. You've got the Hardy Boys, the people who defined an era of flippy wrestling, the flippiest boys with their ladders, extremely good. And then you had Edge and Christian, they had chairs. There's nothing exciting about chairs. Their finishing move was the concerto. That's creative. We both hit them with the chair at the same time, but from opposite sides. So then it's not really clear which direction they should fall over or how they should sell the move.
I really wish you were in charge of wrestling because you obviously know better than everyone who books these matches, because TLC won, I believe Edge and Christian won, and TLC, I believe Edge and Christian won. They must have had something other than hitting them with chairs at the same time.
They were good at talking on the mic. That was it. And even then, Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you're in the ring with legends like the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys, it's hard not to look good unless you just sit on the floor. And I'm not going to argue that they didn't do anything in that match or whatever. That match was undeniably legendary. But I think what you're kind of missing out on is my pick, Rey Mysterio. What he did not only for the WWF and for ECW, but also for Lucha Libre as a concept in general. You know, he was involved in that first wave of cruiserweights getting onto ITV, and you can't deny the lucha influence on the modern style of wrestling. Like, it's everywhere. Everyone wants to do flips and topes and things like that, you know. That's all Ray, man. He was what made it big.
Hi guys, we just had technical difficulties at this part, so we're just going to continue on. They have about 2 minutes left. Guys, restart fighting.
Okay, and as soon as my guys split up, their singles career go off in two different directions. Edge becomes one of the greatest heels we'll ever see, the ultimate opportunist, you know, multiple-time WWF, WWE champion, goes on to have stipulation matches of his own, feuds with Cena, Taker, some of the best matches. Meanwhile, Christian has a slower start, but eventually comes into his own with his own catchphrase, his own matches, and wins the world title of his own. What does Rey Mysterio do after his, you know, world title reign that was clearly just a publicized gift for Eddie? He didn't really get any sort of push. He never really did anything really big.
He's still being booked today. He's one of the most recognisable wrestlers from the Attitude Era and beyond. Again, I'll go back to talking about my flatmate, right? He was only vaguely aware of the wrestling industry, as everyone was in the late 90s. And the two wrestlers, or three wrestlers that he can remember, are The Rock, Chris Jericho, and Rey Mysterio. Everyone remembers him. Everyone gets behind an underdog.
Well, one more minute. I'm not here to argue against your flatmate's bad memory, but when earlier I said Hulk Hogan, you immediately threw in the racism and the homophobic stuff. You know, I don't want to go to this level, but Rey Mysterio is possibly one of the main lucha guys ever. And in the mid-90s, for a little bit of money, he took off his mask. At that point, I lost all respect for him. Like, he went against everything that lucha stands for. He took off his mask, and then he put it back on and pretended it never happened. That is the ultimate for a lucha guy. Most of them go their whole life, and you never see their face. We all know what he looks like. He lost his mystique before he came to WWE, and you know, from that point on, I never really rated him.
Mike, people take off their masks in lucha all the time. Wrestling, again, I'd like to restate, as you seem to have trouble remembering, is predetermined, and things get hyped up to make them seem more important than they are, like they do on any television show. And so, obviously, the idea of...
Time! Ding, ding, ding. The round is over. Okay, so this one's a bit difficult to judge, mainly because of the technical fault we had. But prior to the fault, I think Sam made an excellent point of how influential Rey Mysterio was to the wrestling industry as a whole, probably more than Edge and Christian, which is something that wasn't really defined. And I think that was a separating difference between the two, in my opinion, in the two arguments. So I am actually going to give you another point, Sam. Congratulations, you're only three behind Mike. Can you catch up?
No.
Can you catch up? Have a little bit of belief in yourself, son. Wow, I've never seen such lack of self. I mean, this is a wrestling show in a way. You got to hype yourself up, man.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, obviously I've made an excellent pick here.
That's more like it. Anyway, Mike, you get to kick off the 8th round.
Okay, so instead of what I did last time and bring a tag team in, I'm just going to go with a singles wrestler. But it might as well not only be a tag team, it might as well be a whole stable, because my next pick is Mick Foley.
Ooh, Mick Foley. A guy I've actually met. Really cool guy. Anyway, I like just bragging about that. Sam?
So I am going to go with a man who sadly was taken from us quite early, I think, but had undeniably made an excellent mark on the industry, particularly in ECW. I'm having Brian fucking Pillman.
Oh shit, Brian Pillman, Mick Foley. Who am I going to go for? I'm going to talk about a person that left a mark in the industry that I feel that no one's going to pick, and that's Becky Lynch. I like Becky Lynch. She can be my 8th pick. So, you know, because I don't think anyone will select her, which is sad
Yeah.
because she is great.
I couldn't find any women that fit the theme, so I've actually got none in my list at all.
China.
No, mate, she died as a result of drug
shit.
abuse.
Oh,
Same
fuck
with
yeah.
Miss Elizabeth, can't
I
have
forgot.
her. Same with Lou Vachon, can't have her.
You see, I actually think of the wrestling. That's the difference between you and me, Sam. I'm like, oh, China is awesome.
No, there's loads of people I'd have liked to have had, but I couldn't have them because they died in tragic ways, you know. And I'm not sick. I'm just making light of people who got better, which is fine.
Anyway, speaking of things that can only get better, this fight.
Mind Games. Sam, Mind Games. A relatively small, minor WWF pay-per-view. Didn't have that many buys and, didn't have that much story leading into it or coming out of it. And yet, Mick Foley versus Shawn Michaels, both have said that is their favourite ever match. Have you seen it?
No, because I don't watch B pay-per-views.
You don't watch
especially
pay-per-views.
Not old ones.
Okay, that was just a sign of what Mick Foley, or Mankind as he was in that match, can do. He can go into any situation with any wrestler and make you say, wow. Make you say, oh my god, how is he still alive? He took Shawn Michaels to the next level in that and really made him from what at that time was quite a failure as a champion to Shawn Michaels that we know these days. One small pay-per-view. So many moments Mick Foley has just taken something small and made it into something huge. He took a sock and made it into something huge. He took a random match in Germany and made it into half an ear loss huge. He took an opportunity to write the first chapter of his book and made it into something huge. That's what Mick Foley does. He takes small and makes it large.
I mean, I think you could argue that anyone could create oh my god moments if they don't care about getting injured. Like, yeah, Mick Foley's gimmick was, oh yeah, he gets back up. But, like, you can't deny that he did that because he was horrifically injured and damaged.
I'm glad you said that because he came into WWF in 2006 and between then and the main retirement at WrestleMania 16, can you remember him being out injured?
I mean, in 2000, yeah, that's after he did all the stuff that made him big. And I don't really remember. I don't think he wrestled much then, did he? That was when he was the commissioner of Raw and things like that.
I'm talking from his debut to his final match with Triple H and The Rock and The Big Show at WrestleMania 16, where he was a full-time competitor. How much time do you remember him being out injured?
I mean, anyone can work around injuries, Mike.
Right.
Have you seen him now? Have you seen how he moves now? How he gets around? He can't even bend over properly, man. He can't walk around properly. He's absolutely battered.
Yes, because he gave absolutely everything to wrestling. He gave his mind, body, and soul. He put himself into every promo. He put himself into every character. Remember, Mick Foley comes with 3 characters. We've got Cactus, Dude, Mankind, each one with their own individual traits and techniques.
I feel like, yeah, I'm not going to argue that Mick Foley wasn't good at his job, right? Because that's the thing with all of these wrestlers, is they're all pretty good. But Brian Pillman had the potential to become, like, a stratospheric legend. He was doing the Stone Cold, like, attitude thing before Stone Cold was. He, in fact, you could argue, in his tag team with Steve Austin as the Hollywood Blondes, he elevated Steve and put him in front of people so that he could then go on to become what he is now, the Stone Cold. Not only that, but Brian Pillman on his own cut some of the most fire promos of all time. That one where he debuted in ECW, he's marching around the ring screaming, Eric Bischoff is every single one of you smart motherfuckers rolled up into one giant piece of shit. That's a fucking promo, mate. And the whole crowd, there's a great kind of, they're cheering for him because they like the fact that he's yelling about Eric Bischoff because they're ECW, they don't like him. And then the crowd realises that he's actually insulting them and telling them that they're pieces of shit.
You said 2 things there. You said potential. I'm glad you said that. He did have a massive amount of potential and he was taken from us far too soon. But Mick Foley and his 3 characters did get to reach their potential, and that's really great. And you also said, promos and how intense they are. Foley is known for his intense promos and the fact that he puts all of his feeling into them. And, if we really look at things that changed the industry, we could look at the fall off the Hell in a Cell, we could look at some of his hardcore matches. But I think the main thing that changed the industry, and, we're still seeing it to this day, WCW were beating WWF 83 weeks, I believe they won, until Tony Schiavone says, No point changing the channel tonight. Mankind gets to win the world title. And at that point, 1.5 million people switch over. That's how popular he was. If he'd said Pillman was winning the title, would as many people have switched? Would they have won the weight and Raws? I think
I would
Mankind
argue
was,
yes.
Well,
Brian
no,
Pillman
he'd
made...
already passed away, so I don't think they would. But
Well, yeah, if you have an extra 30 years in the industry, then obviously you're going to get further. That's not really a fair comparison. But Brian Pillman put ECW on the map. They were kind of like, they're just another big indie before him. And before his run there, he elevated them as a company, and it's undeniable the influence that ECW had on the rest of the industry. Not only kind of in WCW, but also in WWE. With people like Mankind.
Stop. Boy. This one's tough. This one was well fought. There was. The disadvantage to this argument was obviously that Brian was taken far too early from us. Great wrestler, ahead of his time. Mick Foley, great character worker, one of the best in terms of entertainment you're ever going to get in the industry. So it's very, very tough. Both terrific answers, both very good arguments. Boy, there is no denying though that Mick Foley had a bigger impact on the industry, and I think Mike made that very clear. And I think the 83 weeks point just edges it. I mean, it's a hypothetical how you could argue whether Brian Pillman would have the same effect. Could any superstar have the same effect? And I think that is that's a hypothetical, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day. So unfortunately for you, Sam, Mike takes a point, and Mike gets a victory here today.
I mean, anyone can get famous by falling off a big thing.
I wish you would prove that, Sam.
Sam Foley confirmed. Anyway, we've still got 2 more rounds, so let's have a blast with this one. Sam, let's try and make this score tight, shall we? What's your 9th pick?
All right, I am having the legend, Mr. Monday Night. He loves to work Mondays. The whole fucking show, Rob Van Dam. Do I have to say why? I guess I've got the time to. He's a legend.
No, it's fine. We'll just fight.
We'll do that in the argument bit.
Yeah, just do it in the argument. It's alright. What about you, Mike?
Well, you've picked a hell of a time to pick Rob Van Dam as yours. I'm not doing this deliberately because you picked him, but I think as dream matches go, and there's been a lot of talk of that in the last few years, my pick, AJ Styles.
Ooh.
Boy, that would be a match, wouldn't it?
That would.
My pick would be my dream match with Rob Van Dam. It's going to be some weed on a pole match, RVD versus Matt Riddle.
That would be a good match. Maybe
as you can tell, guys, I have nothing at stake here. I've kind of given up on great wrestlers here and there.
Have you seen the Taipei Deathmatch from CZW? The drunk Taipei Deathmatch. John Moxley versus some gimp. Where every time there's a referee stoppage, I can't remember. He's called Neil Diamond Cutter. He's just some indie guy, but they have to keep doing shots in the match. So you could incorporate that into Riddle versus RVD. We'll have an old school British style rounds, and then in between each round you have to hit a massive bong, and then the winner is we'll just do a normal wrestling match after that.
Oh my
It'd
god!
Work. Book it, Vince.
That's still more entertaining than Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that just happened.
They can hotbox the cell.
Oh shit. Anyway, fight, gentlemen, fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of our arguments here are going to be exactly the same because you've got 2 of the most amazing in-ring performers of all time.
Yeah,
but
undeniably.
I think if we both just take a minute to go over our guys. I mean, mine started on the Indies. I first ever saw him in the Battle of Los Angeles in PWG, went to TNA and became really the face of the X Division, helped create that, had an amazing career there, went to New Japan, became leader of the Bullet Club, that's pretty huge, main evented at Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom, and then finally has come to have an amazing career in WWF. WWE. Current US champion, multiple WWF champion, world champion, sorry. God, feeling old today. What do you say about your guy?
I mean, all of the same things you just said. He came up through the Indies.
Your guy was never main event in the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, all right, yeah. He didn't work in Japan as much. That's fair. But he did come up through the Indies. He put ECW on the map. He was the hottest free agent in professional wrestling during the mid-90s. A huge draw on all of the shows he was on. WWF. I don't know. Yeah, he did wrestle on WCW, but I think that was later. But he was also a many-time decorated champion. He made the ECW Television Championship into a belt that mattered. You know, his run with it. And then his work when he was saying, you know, I'm Mr. Monday Night. I'm the promos he cut talking about Uncle Eric. Come and pick me up from this shithole. He made the ECW fans hate him, even though they loved to see him wrestle. Even though he had one of the flashiest movesets in the world, he proved that on the mic you can make people hate you, even if in the ring they love seeing you do what you do. Yeah. Plus, you're talking about AJ Styles. You can't act like AJ Styles would have the style he has if Rob Van Dam didn't exist. Like you said, they're the same wrestler, but RVD did it like 10 years before AJ did.
Yep, totally agree with 90% of what you said. The last bit I'm not too sure. I think AJ took what RVD was and improved it tenfold. But I think the big difference is my guy, when he got his final big chance to win what is the biggest wrestling title, he took the ball and he ran with it. Your guy, he got the final chance. He'd been going his whole career, and then he decided to get caught smoking pot in his car or whatever and stripped of the title, and you know, he got the big opportunity and he threw it away.
Yeah, it means he's chill as hell. It's not his fault that he's working for a company of uptight dickheads. It's just a little bit of weed.
I don't think it was Vince pulled him over. I think it was the cops.
Come on.
It wasn't 2019 to start with.
No, but we are in 2019. But it wasn't the cops necessarily, because loads of people got arrested for loads of stuff in the WWE. Brock Lesnar's on so many steroids, and yet he still works for the company. It's just selective. It just sucks that he got thrown under the bus, you know. But that's not that. I don't think that's his fault. And also, he fits with the theme of the show, you know. Undeniably exciting.
No, that's your theme of the show.
Yeah, which is why I'm arguing he's a good pick. Because not only is he a chill dude, and he probably has good weed, but also he's one of the best wrestlers of all time.
I think everything,
in and out of the ring.
Everything Rob Van Dam does, AJ does a little bit better. So Rob Van Dam does the 5-star frog splash, AJ does the springboard 360, Rob Van Dam does the rolling thunder, AJ does the phenomenal forearm. I think everything's just a bit more spectacular, a bit more fluid, and he's a bit more longevity. He's gone longer, he's gone bigger, he's gone higher, he's just more recognisable. Your guy was an amazing wrestler in a niche market. He was a massive fish in a small pond, but when he reached the big pond, he never really hit the heights. AJ came in and has hit those heights.
What are you talking about? All he had to do is point his thumbs to his head and everyone would shout Rob Van Dam. He was at least as big as AJ is now, if not bigger.
I think that's a ridiculous comment.
That's a what, sorry?
A ridiculous comment to say he's as big now as AJ was.
Oh, no, not now.
AJ has successfully defended the world title at WrestleMania. That's my theme here. I think WrestleMania is the showcase of the Immortals, to con someone's statement.
Another thing we have to consider is this is 2019. We're drafting for a present-day wrestling show. Would you really want someone as homophobic as AJ Styles on your roster? Rob Van Dam is a well-documented ally of LGBT people. He turns up to marches, he goes to Pride. Whereas if you ask AJ about what he thinks about being popular in the gay community, he flips the fuck out at you. He's like a massively what's the right word? Kind of backward guy, you know. He doesn't fit with a modern.
I don't know why you keep going to these levels.
Stop. Well, that took an interesting turn, and it's a shame that the 5 minutes came up, because I would have loved to have heard how this descended into madness. Bloody hell, this is tough. So, here's a fun little thing. All three superstars were first for me. Rob Van Dam was the first ever match I ever saw on television, and it was against, of all people, Charlie Haas. AJ Styles was the first ever person I saw on TNA that wasn't an ex-WWE guy, and Matt Riddle was the first ex-UFC fighter that I've ever met, with pizza sauce all over my face, and I was very drunk. But it was on my birthday, so how cool is that? So all three, a bit of a connection to me, and therefore Matt Riddle. No, he's not winning.
You can't win. You're the judge.
I'm also
This isn't wrestling, Todd.
I'm also a heel. I don't. Oh. For as many accolades that you mentioned, Mike, I think the point of AJ Styles adopting Rob Van Dam's style is very key here. Like the promos in ECW and how influential he was to ECW. You in an era where superstars did get away with stuff, he was harshly punished at the same time, I think. So, Rob Van Dam wins the point. Rob Van Dam beats AJ Styles. And I'm a huge AJ Styles fan. Big AJ Styles fan. But, yeah, Rob Van Dam wins the point. So, it's 6-3 heading into the final round. Mike, you get to go first.
I've got 3 people left on my list, and I really want to go with all of them. So, of my list, the obvious one to go for is Triple H. The kind of, ooh, I didn't expect that, is the Great Muta, and the kind of, oh my god, he's taking the piss out of Sam, is Nicholas. But, you know what?
Please say Nicholas. Pick
Nicholas, you'll probably still win. I'm being serious.
You know what? Nicholas.
Yes!
Right.
The undefeated Nicholas. Holy shit! Oh, okay, right. Sam, please tell me yours isn't ridiculous.
Mine is as ridiculous, but in a different way, I hope. So, in keeping with the theme of the Drunken on Drugs Happy Fun Time Wrestling Show, we can't have a locker room full of people who like to be drunken on drugs without someone to supply the drugs. And so, for that reason, my 10th pick is ECW hardcore legend New Jack. Well-documented drug dealer. This is a fact. You can watch the shoot interviews, and he says nobody else was allowed to sell drugs in the locker room because I made sure they fucking didn't.
Oh boy. What? In that case, I'm bringing back the Funkasaurus Brothers Clay.
So we can't pick him, such a shame.
I was originally going to go for King Corbin in honour of the unwinnable Chen, but no, I couldn't do that. So New Jack versus Nicholas, the dream match. I really want to play this on 2K19 now. I might download DLCs.
No, you definitely don't. New Jack has a very bad track record being in the ring with children. So
I mean, we have to fight, so fight, but I don't give a fuck.
To make a serious argument, while New Jack does have a justifiably quite bad rap because he did stab that kid that time. I watched a shoot interview, right, where someone said, you stabbed him 9 times, and he was like, I didn't fucking stab him 9 times. It was 12. It's like, damn, dude, really? Are you doubling down on that, man? Yeah, fair. He did stab that guy. He probably shouldn't be part of any real wrestling company that's not based on substance abuse.
No.
But you cannot deny that he was an innovator of making rural white people extremely mad in southern USA, and also kind of actually trash wrestling. Like, he was incredibly creative in the ring with his staple gun. He pioneered the use of the staple gun and the cheese grater. He was doing the guitar shot before Jeff Jarrett was. Like, yeah, all right, he wasn't the best wrestler in the world, but he didn't have to be. People wanted blood, and he gave them blood.
Sam, I've gone through my encyclopedia of knowledge, and I've failed to find a Nicholas versus New Jack match to quote here. So, firstly, I'm going to say that at his age, I think Nicholas is prime for somebody like New Jack to convert into a drug user, which does fit in with your modus operandi.
Yeah.
Nicholas is undefeated. Nicholas has had a WrestleMania match. Nicholas has had more eyes on him at any one point than New Jack has had. he entered the ring with Braun Strowman with very little notice. I mean, he was plucked out of the ring, so I think we've got to give him credit for adapting to the situation. He came into the ring. At no point was he knocked onto his back, so he is not only undefeated, but he has not been knocked off of his feet. He tags back out, and then, look, wrestling, you've said it multiple times tonight, it's predetermined, it's acting. Look at him shaking. How did he manage to shake so well? It's almost as if he restricted the blood flow to his brain so that his hands would start to tremor, just so we'd get an idea of the fear of that. And then not only that, he wins the tag team titles and has the, at the age of 10, has the grown-up attitude to think, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, I can't defend these on a weekly basis. So went on live TV and vacated the titles. That's maturity that your adult New Jack doesn't have.
Have you heard a Nicholas promo, Mike? They're terrible. It's like a child's doing it.
Whereas New Jack is the most eloquent.
Mate, have you seen the promo he does where he's like yelling about being a young black man out on the street in...
Are you talking about Nicholas or New Jack?
Somewhere. No, I'm talking about New Jack.
All right,
and then at the end of the promo, he's out in the ring surrounded by all these old racist white people.
To be honest, no, I haven't heard that promo.
Shout out to my brother OJ. 2 less to go. That's like, boom, nuclear heat, man.
I haven't heard that promo, but I just think, we're picking our 10 wrestlers. What has New Jack got to give compared to Nicholas? Nicholas has a longer career ahead of him. I think New Jack is past his prime. He's too injured. He's still brain damaged off falling off the scaffold with Vic Grimes. I think Nicholas... Sorry? Twice.
He fell off the scaffold with Vic Grimes twice.
No, he threw Vic Grimes the second time.
You're right. Twice. He did. He tried to kill him.
Whereas Nicholas has no scaffold falls behind him. Hasn't taken any real bumps. He's in the prime of his life. He's doing well in his GCSEs, I hear. I really think that...
Americans have GCSEs.
I was going to say, Mike, Americans don't have GCSEs, 1. 2, this is a fantasy draft. We're not picking them now because some of my guys are dead, and that would be sick.
You said earlier potential. I think Nicholas has more potential than New Jack. I think Nicholas has less likelihood to end up in prison for murdering somebody in the ring than New Jack, and I also think that the way that Nicholas took that tag was, it was perfect coordination, something that New Jack doesn't have. And finally, at least Nicholas manages to start the match without his music playing. I mean, has New Jack not learned the stop button on his CD player?
Mate, that's what made his matches so good.
That's what made his matches so irritating.
Natural Born Killers, that's a banging tune.
It is a banging tune until the match starts and we want to hear Joey Styles commentate. Can you imagine Joey Styles saying... He's going to say, oh my god, Nicholas is tagged back in for a second time. Look, I think the stats are on my side. I think age is on my side. I think criminal records on my side. I think wrestling talent is on my side. I think everything is on my side here. Nicholas is a better wrestler than New Jack already, and he has a good 60-year career ahead of him.
Disagree. New Jack once overdosed on cocaine before a match, blew up and still finished the match with Bam Bam Bigelow. That's legendary. Nicholas isn't going to put any bums on seats by jumping off anything high. New Jack routinely did that. Perfectly happy to give everything for the business. And he'll keep the entire locker room nice and hyper and happy and fun.
I think
and that's what the Drunken on Drugs Happy Fun Time
I think Nicholas brought a nice childish attitude to the locker room, something that was desperately needed. New Jack might get them all stoned, but at least Nicholas, he's nice, he's happy, he's got his Game Boy, he's got his Pokemon. He just brings happiness to that backstage area. New Jack just brings a tense atmosphere. New Jack is unpredictable. Nicholas, at least you know what he's going to do.
I'm going to stop this right here. I can't believe we actually had a serious argument somewhat about... I think my favourite point is he doesn't have a criminal record, so I win, and New Jack, scaffolded. Oh my god, I don't even know. Yeah, we referenced everything from stabbing children to
Jason's
O.J. Simpson to my days. I don't even know where to start. Just because I'll probably never meet New Jack, so I'm no chance of me getting stabbed, I don't think. So
come on!
I'm going to vote Nicholas. Just because the only real serious wrestling point there was Nicholas has potential, which is true. He's only a kid.
Well, I made loads of wrestling points. Has New Jack innovated hardcore wrestling? Trash wrestling? He was the
Yeah.
first guy to bring like a cart down to the
Sam,
ring
Sam,
with
Sam,
loads of
Sam,
trash in
Sam.
it.
Emphasis on trash.
That's it. It defined an era.
He was
you
not the
can't
first
deny
guy to
that.
bring a cart of weapons down. The Grey Muta did it in '89.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, look, see, he's even continuing to beat you up. Wow. So, Mike, congratulations, you won 7 points to 3 in our first ever special episode. And that means you're on a record of 3 and 2. Sam,
I disagree. This doesn't count towards the
No,
record.
no, this counts.
You said it yourself. This is a special episode. As I
This-
said before the
Sam,
podcast went
Sam,
on the air,
Sam,
this is
Sam,
the equivalent of
if
the
you
Brawl
continue
for
to
All.
argue, you will not get a championship shot down the line.
There's no championships.
What?
Oh,
Sam,
there will be.
Sam,
There will
Sam,
be soon.
Sam, you don't think this point should count?
No.
It doesn't matter what you think.
You need to be quicker on that.
Yeah,
You have to
you-
interrupt
yeah,
people
that doesn't work
if
on the
you-
Skype.
Actually, I overturned it. I overturned all the points after that shit play, Mike. Sam,
Yes!
you won 10-0.
It does
Congratulations.
count. It definitely counts towards the record.
Yeah, exactly. You fucking bullshit.
Sam, I've been
Muncher.
stating for weeks that I can beat you, and yes, this might be a bonus episode, but if you want to try me on a real episode, just come on. Your arguments
Mate,
are weak,
absolutely.
they're unthought out of.
Mike,
You don't even know William Regal's
This is
finishing
a
move.
real episode, so you do have the win. You're 3 and 2. Sam, you're 3 and 1. Accept it. Accept
I
it.
think-
Sam, how does it feel to be beaten, victimized, and conquered by Iron Mike Lesnar?
I don't feel any of those things because this is a
You're
roster I threw-
victimized.
because this is a roster I threw together in about 5 minutes based on a stupid joke idea that I had when I was talking to Jason on WhatsApp. So I can't take complete credit. Jason also set me up partially with this, and then I was like, yeah, I'm definitely doing this now. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard when I picked like a made-up tag team in the Hart Foundation, but not any of the iterations of the Hart Foundation.
You
And
should have
picked
picked one of
Shawn
them.
fucking Michaels, or I had Jake the Snake Robertson, you picked The Undertaker.
Sam, it's a fantasy draft. Like, I get why he wanted to do like something fun, but come on, Mike was going to bring his A game. Mike wanted to beat you. You should have wanted to beat him, and unfortunately, you went 5-1 down, son. You went 5-1 down. It was embarrassing.
So what I will say is, I think the blame for this actually squarely rests on Chris's head, because once again he's failed to turn up. Chris was down. This was originally going to be a triple threat, ladies and gentlemen, which is why I did the stupid joke, because I thought, this isn't the big match I got with Mike. This is just going to be a stupid kind of jokey one. I'll let him and Chris have a bit of an argument.
Wait.
Do my
I,
silly
on
jokes.
the other hand, realised that at any point that I'm in the ring with Sam, that I need to bring my A game, because having dissed him for the last 4 weeks, and every time I'm on this pod, I really do need to beat him, whether it's in a singles match, a triple threat, a tag team, and you know...
Guys, I think we need to settle this, okay? I think we need to settle this before we close out the show. I'm going to book a match of such epic proportions. We're going to have you two team up.
What?
It's Teddy Long here.
Against a team of Chris and Chan. Holla holla.
Chris and Chen. Wow,
Yeah,
this
Chris is going to make
be a
his
walk in the
debut in a
park,
tag
mate.
team match because I really want to put him over strong, such good shit pal. And Chen needs a win, such good shit pal. So, we're going to put you two in a tag team match against them. And this will count on your record as well. This will count on your record as well.
So you're saying
you need to work
Chen
together.
needs a win, so you're putting him against us.
Yeah.
I believe in Chen and Chris. I believe
We're
in
the
Chen and
most
Chris.
dominant team in Holy Shoot Wrestling Challenge history. I am the most dominant participant, even though I did lose today. My
Is
win-loss
this
record
like a
is still the
Daniel
best.
Bryan Kane, I am the tag team champions thing?
That's what. So,
You know when Daniel Bryan and Kane teamed up, it'd be, I am the tag team champions.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, right.
That's what I'm gonna do. Because if we win, everyone knows it will be because of me.
Alright. Anyway, Mike, I want to get your closing thoughts after all of this.
Look, I'm glad that having said that I would for 4 weeks, I've come here and taught Sam a lesson. I know he's still coming out with excuses and reasons and little side clauses over there, but, you know, when people are listening back to this, they won't remember who won, they won't remember the fact that I was 5-1 ahead. What they will remember is I jokingly said Nicholas and won the point. This is beating you in epic proportions. This is like, it's as if we agreed 3 chair shots to the head and I hit you with 11. You know,
I disagree, Mike. I think what people will remember is how entertained they were at my roster and funny jokes that I did.
I don't think they'll actually
work so hard to put together.
I don't think they'll see that hard work. I think they'll see almost like a random pick out name and give an inane argument and make up historical facts, and when it suits you claim that it's predetermined, or when it suits you claim that you're young.
I've got a new nickname for Sam. Instead of like Bad News Barrett, it'll be like Fake News Leighton.
How dare you?
I'm afraid I've got some fake news for you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think
anyway,
WrestleMania 1 main event being a mid card is the memory I'll take away from this.
Anyway, we're gonna have that match somewhere down the line. We're gonna also have the loser bowl between Dave and Chen, because I really want to hear that match so bad.
Yeah.
And I am definitely going to face Jason some point down the line. Unfortunately, I was ill a couple of weeks back, and then last week I was super busy with work commitments. So hence why that match has not happened yet. But from all of us here at Holy Shoot Wrestling Podcast, we want to say thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed today's show, then please do give us a subscribe. Also, remember to follow us on all the social media channels. So at Holy Shoot Pod on Twitter. I think that's correct. I'm going to check that now. Keep this in. Keep this professional.
Okay, I was going to say I can take this out if you want.
No, F it. Right. Yeah, it is at Holy Shoot Pod on Twitter. I use the account every day, and I still get it wrong. Follow us on at Holy Shoot Pod on Twitter. Like us on Facebook at Holy Shoot Wrestling, and also follow us at Holy Shoot Wrestling on the Instagram. And also remember, our dear listeners, let us in. Bye!